When in Rome, Chapter 24. I'm standing in front of this abandoned farmhouse that has been raided by the local police officers for a recent kidnapping of an American tourist that was found at a parking lot nearby the shipyard in Civitavecchia, said a reporter in front of a news camera. She turned to one of the policemen who was standing beside her. "Officer, what can you tell us at this time?" The officer replied, "We got information from the victim that led us to this location where we found a large quantity of cocaine and heroin." The reporter held the microphone back. "What about the kidnappers? Have you located them?" "No," said the officer, "but we got a report of an abandoned vehicle not too far from where the victim was found. We and the police force in Civitavecchia are currently investigating the situation." "Thank you, officer." She turned back to the camera, back to studio. The chief turned off the television and said, "Well, at least from our end, the issue has been resolved." Antonio nodded and asked, "What about Giorgio?" That captain said that Giorgio claimed his green van has been stolen a week ago. He claimed the report was filed around that time. "That's it?" Antonio seemed dissatisfied. "There will be further investigation relating with Amy Ryan and those two suspicious van. Civitavecchia and Rome are handling the case now." The chief pursed his lip and gave Antonio a slight grin. "Speaking of Rome, they just called me, offering your job back. Interested?" Antonio raised his eyebrows, looking intrigued, and said, "I'll think about it." "Don't think too hard." The chief patted Antonio's shoulder. "You have proven to be quite useful around here, despite the mishap." "Thanks." Antonio nodded and then looked at his watch. "I've got to go pick up Molly at the hospital." "Just a moment," said the chief, and reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a large envelope. "Everything she needs to get back home are here," he said as he handed it to him. Antonio led Molly out of the hospital, but not without hearing murmur from the nurse staff and their eyes peering at them. Molly turned to him as they stepped out the door. "Why were they staring at us?" "You were mentioned on the news," Antonio replied. "Oh." She stood while watching Antonio unlocking his Fiat, parked right in front of the building. Suddenly she asked again, "Did they find him and my stuff?" "No," Antonio replied as he opened the door for her. The traffic was heavy as usual, saturated with cars and pedestrians. The beach was crowded, which drew Molly's attention. As if Antonio knew what she was thinking, he reached towards the back seat and grabbed a backpack and placed it on her lap. "Here, everything you need is inside," he said. Molly's eyes widened as she opened the bag and saw her fresh clothes. She inhaled and said, "Thanks for the new bag and washing them for me." Antonio gave her a quick glance. "There's more." Molly digged through her clothes and pulled out the envelope that the chief gave him. She took out what was inside: a plane ticket, a passport, and a traveler's check of $3,000. Her eyes started to moisten. "The headquarters in Rome found out about your misfortune and offered to replace the money that was taken from you," Antonio added. "Consider it a reward for helping us solving a big case." "That is very kind of them," said Molly, while wiping the tears off of her cheeks. "I told you that you did good, remember?" Antonio quietly praised. He glanced at her. "Now, you can finally answer my question." "What question is that?" She was puzzled. "You want to stay a bit, or you want to go home right away?" Looking relieved, She gave him a huge grin and looked out the window. Antonio smiled too. With a quick peek at his watch, he pressed the gas pedal, speeding his way out of the crowded street onto the highway heading south. The red Fiat shimmered under the sunlight as it gradually disappeared into the horizon.